All right, so we are going to try to decode the matrix today. But instead of Kung Fu, it's all about data systems. And like before you click away thinking like, oh, this isn't for me, trust me, this impacts everyone. We're talking about how your data, yes, your data is leaving its fingerprints everywhere.
It's true.
So we're diving deep into your latest lecture on data systems.
Okay.
Specifically big data, data mining, which kind of sounds like a heist movie.
Yeah.
And the intriguing world of database design.
Yeah.
So think about it. How does your grocery store seem to know what you want before you even do?
It's true.
Stick with us and you'll find out.
Yeah. That's the question, isn't it?
Okay. So the lecture jumps right into big data.
Right.
Defining it as large or complex data sets.
Yeah.
Okay. Simple enough. But why is everyone making such a fuss over it?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
The real magic of big data is less about the big. And more about what we can do with it. It's like sifting for gold. We're talking about uncovering hidden patterns and using them to predict anything from, say, your next online shopping spree to the outbreak of diseases.
So when my bank sends me that, like, suspicious activity alert, that's data mining flexing its muscles.
Yeah, you got it.
Or how Netflix always seems to know what I'm in the mood to watch.
Those are prime examples of data mining in action.
Yeah.
But let's bring it down to earth a little bit. With a real-world scenario that we can all relate to. Good old grocery shopping.
I'm all ears. Tell me more.
So think about those loyalty cards we swipe. At Tesco or Sainsbury's. You know, Club Card, Nectar Card. We think we're just racking up points, but there's a bigger game afoot here. Every single swipe feeds a massive beta system. That helps those supermarkets tailor their promotions. Get a read on market trends, and even predict what we'll toss in our baskets before we even do it.
So they're using our shopping habits to, well, encourage more shopping habits.
I must admit, it's a bit cheeky, but also kind of brilliant.
It's true. It all boils down to creating personalized experiences. But big data's reach goes beyond just product suggestions. Companies are also using it to fine-tune their customer service. Think analyzing complaints.
Identifying product hiccups. And making sure that your experience is top-notch, from checkout to returns.
So it's like this giant feedback loop, learning and adapting based on our every move.
Exactly. It's all about optimization and getting to know the customer inside and out. But here's the catch. All of this data, even if it's just about our weekly grocery haul, can quickly become a tangled mess without the proper tools to wrangle it.
That's where databases swoop in to save the day, The lecture compares them to a giant, meticulously organized digital dictionary.
It's a good analogy.
It makes sense.
Bringing
order to the chaos of raw data.
Spot on.
Databases
are the unsung heroes of our data-driven world. They make information accessible, organized, and useful. Imagine social media platforms like Instagram or Facebook. They're built on a foundation of colossal databases.
Wow, it's mind-blowing when you think about the sheer volume of data that those platforms handle every second. It's not just selfies and status updates.
No.
We're talking user info, friend connections, even location check-ins.
Absolutely.
It's a lot.
And remember those eerily accurate weather apps we all rely on? They're fueled by, you guessed it, massive databases.
All force.
Crunching complex atmospheric data.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing when you stop and think about it.
So we've got these digital giants quietly working behind the scenes.
We do.
To make our digital lives tick. That's But like any powerful tool, there's a right way and a not so right way to use them,
You're exactly right. Just like you wouldn't build a house without a blueprint. Creating a database requires careful planning and design. Otherwise, you just end up with a digital disaster on your hands.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
What kind of disasters are we talking about?
Let's look at an example from the lecture. A university student database. Picture a massive table containing every student's information. Names, birth dates, courses, library books that they've borrowed. Sounds organized on the surface, but this approach can lead to what we call data redundancy and data inconsistency.
Data redundancy and inconsistency. Those sound a bit like data villains.
They do a little bit, right?
Yeah. Can you break those down for me?
Of course. Data redundancy is like having the same book on every shelf in the library.
Right.
It's a waste of space and resources.
Okay.
In a database, it means the same information is repeated multiple times,
right,
gobbling up valuable storage.
So instead of simply linking a student's information to a book they borrowed, we're entering all their details again and again.
Exactly.
Every single time they check out a new book.
Precisely.
Got it.
And not only is it inefficient,
right,
but it also increases the risk of errors.
Oh, okay.
Which leads to data inconsistency.
Okay.
Imagine someone mistypes a student's name
while
entering information about a borrowed book. Suddenly you have conflicting data. Which can cause a real headache.
Oh, I can see how that would throw a wrench in the system.
Yeah.
It'd be like having 2 different library cards for the same person.
Right.
Confusing.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And it's not just about typos.
Okay.
Data inconsistency can snowball into much bigger issues.
Oh, wow.
Inaccurate reports, flawed analysis, and even difficulties updating information.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
thankfully, there's a more elegant solution.
Okay.
Relational databases.
Relational databases, tell me more.
Okay.
How do they solve these data dilemmas?
So imagine instead of one massive, unwieldy table, we break down the information into smaller interconnected tables.
Okay.
Kind of like creating specialized sections in our library.
Okay, so instead of having one gigantic fiction section, we create separate areas for mystery, sci-fi, romance, and so on.
Exactly.
It's all still connected.
It is.
But organized more efficiently.
Your lecture visualize this beautifully with an example of linked tables for student borrow Prudello books.
Got it.
Each table holds specific information and is linked through relationships. Hence the term relational database.
So if a student borrows a book,
we
simply link that book record to their existing student record.
You got it.
Instead of creating a whole new entry with all their details.
That's right.
That makes so much sense.
It eliminates redundancy, maintains consistency, and makes updating information a breeze. It's a win-win.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So how do we actually go about creating these well-oiled relational databases?
That's where data normalization comes into play.
Data normalization.
Yes. Think of it as the art of organizing data. Analyzing it and strategically breaking it down into those smaller interconnected tables we talked about.
Got it.
The goal is to maximize efficiency and eliminate those pesky redundancy and inconsistency issues.
Data normalization. Marie Kondo of the database world.
I like that.
So how do we actually visualize these relationships between tables? The lecture mentioned something called entity relationship diagrams. Or ERDs.
Yes.
They sound pretty technical.
They might sound intimidating, but ERDs are actually quite intuitive once you get the hang of them. Think of them as visual blueprints for your database. They're a way to map out the structure of your database, and you can see how those different pieces of information relate to each other.
Okay, so kind of like a family tree, but for data.
Exactly. Let's take that example from your lecture about a company and its departments. Imagine a box labeled company and another one labeled department.
Got it. Picturing it now.
We connect those boxes with a line to show the relationship between them. And to make it even clearer, we add a verb to that line, something like operates, to describe the relationship precisely.
So we'd have company operates department? Makes sense.
Perfect. Now, to show that a company can have multiple departments, we use a special symbol on that connecting line. The lecture mentioned a crow's foot symbol. It indicates many.
So it's like branches on a tree. Visually representing how the company branches out into different departments. That's pretty clever.
It is. ERDs give database designers a really clear roadmap to follow, ensuring that everything is connected logically and can grow efficiently. Think of it like this. You wouldn't start building a city without a carefully planned layout, right? ERDs help us build our data cities with that same level of foresight.
That's a great analogy. It makes you realize how much thought goes into something we often take for granted.
It's true.
We just expect our apps and websites to work seamlessly.
But
there's a whole lot of planning and organization happening behind the scenes.
Absolutely. And that meticulous planning is what allows databases to handle massive amounts of data and complex relationships without skipping a beat. It's the backbone of our digital world. Speaking of which, your lecture also touched on how online grocery stores rely heavily on well-structured databases.
Yeah.
And given how much data they handle,
Yeah.
products, customers, orders, deliveries, it's no wonder.
It makes you appreciate the complexity behind something as routine as ordering groceries online.
Right.
What seems like such a simple task on the surface is actually powered by this intricate dance of data.
Precisely, imagine the chaos if those systems weren't carefully designed.
Oh my gosh, I know.
We might end up with someone else's order.
Right.
Or worse, 1,000 jars of pickles instead of the single jar we actually wanted.
Okay, that paints a very hilarious picture. But I get your point.
Right.
We've talked about big data mining and how essential well-designed databases are. But for someone like me who's not a tech expert, why does all of this really matter?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
Whether we realize it or not, we are interacting with data systems constantly throughout our day.
Right.
From online shopping and social media to healthcare records and banking.
It's true.
Data is this invisible force that's shaping our experiences. Understanding the basics empowers you to be a more informed digital citizen.
So it's about digital literacy, not necessarily becoming a tech whiz.
Exactly. It's about understanding how your data is being used,
Okay.
the benefits, the potential downsides,
Right.
and having the knowledge to ask those critical questions.
Questions like, how's my data being collected?
Yes.
Who has access to it?
Exactly.
What's being done to protect my privacy?
Precisely. It's about being aware and engaged, rather than just passively accepting whatever information comes our way.
Right.
The more we understand about data and how it's used, the better equipped we are to navigate this increasingly data-driven world.
I like that, becoming more data savvy.
Right.
It feels empowering, like learning a new language.
Yeah.
That helps you decode the world around you.
That's a great way to put it. And speaking of languages, the world of data is constantly evolving.
Okay.
Which brings us to another fascinating aspect of databases. Their ability to adapt and grow alongside technology.
You mean how they can handle more and more data as technology advances?
That's definitely a part of it, but it's also about their ability to evolve structurally.
Okay.
To accommodate new types of data and changing needs.
That makes sense. The way we use data today is vastly different from even a decade ago.
It is.
Our systems need to be able to keep up.
Right. Think about our online grocery store example.
Okay.
Let's say they decide to introduce personalized recipe recommendations based on your past purchases.
Oh, cool.
Cool feature.
Right? Definitely. I could see myself using that.
But here's the catch. This new feature means the database needs to store and process a whole new data type, recipes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Not only that, it has to connect this new data to existing customer profiles and purchase histories.
So it's like adding a whole new wing to our library.
Yes.
To house a different genre of books.
Right.
You have to make sure that it integrates seamlessly with the existing structure.
You got it.
Right.
And that's the beauty and challenge of working with databases.
Okay.
They're dynamic, evolving systems that demand both careful planning and a willingness to adapt to change.
It's like cultivating a digital garden. Yeah. You need to nurture it, prune it, and make sure it can weather any storm.
I love that analogy. And as our data gardens continue to flourish and expand, the importance of skilled database designers and administrators will only become more crucial.
So designing and managing these complex systems must require some serious technical expertise, right?
It's true that designing those large-scale systems demands specialized knowledge.
Yeah.
But the good news is
Okay.
there are more tools and resources than ever before that make working with databases more accessible to everyone.
Really? What kind of tools are we talking about?
Well, there are user-friendly database management systems, or DBMS for short, that provide intuitive interfaces for creating, managing, and querying data. You don't need to be a coding guru to start organizing your own data effectively.
That's interesting. I always thought databases were this super technical realm that only programmers could navigate.
While the underlying principles can get complex,
Right.
the tools themselves have become much more user-friendly. Think about how website builders empowered anyone to create a basic website without needing to learn HTML.
Right. Technology is all about breaking down those barriers.
Exactly.
And making things accessible to everyone.
Exactly. And demystifying databases is a huge part of that. It's about empowering people to become more data literate and engage with their data on their own terms.
So even if we're not aspiring to be database administrators, having even just a basic understanding of these concepts is still incredibly valuable.
Absolutely. It's about becoming fluent in the language of the digital age.
Okay.
Understanding the forces that shape our online and offline experiences.
From big data to databases and even those ERD blueprints.
It's true.
It's amazing how much we've unpacked in this deep dive into your lecture.
It's all about connecting the dots.
Yeah.
And understanding the intricate ways that data shapes our world.
Exactly. And you know what's really striking me?
What's that?
We often talk about data in this abstract sense.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's all about us.
It is.
Our choices, our behaviors, our digital footprints.
It's true.
It's both fascinating and a little bit humbling.
It really is. Data gives us this incredible snapshot of human behavior.
Right.
What we buy, where we go, what we're interested in. And as we've discussed, that information can be incredibly powerful when used thoughtfully.
Absolutely. Think about those personalized recommendations or even those hyper-targeted ads we see online.
Right.
For better or for worse, data is driving those experiences.
Yeah.
It's like having a team of digital detectives trying to predict our every move.
It is. And like any good detective.
Right.
They're not always, right?
Right.
But the more data they gather,
yeah,
the more accurate their predictions become.
Makes sense.
That's why understanding the tools and techniques they use, things like data mining and database design, is so important. It allows us to peek behind the curtain and see how those systems work.
It's like becoming data detectives ourselves.
Exactly. And the more we understand about data, the better equipped we are to navigate this increasingly complex digital landscape. We become more discerning consumers of information.
Okay.
More aware of how our own data is being used.
Right.
And ultimately more empowered to make informed decisions.
So this deep dive hasn't just been about understanding technical concepts.
It hasn't.
It's been about understanding ourselves.
It has.
And our place in this data-driven world.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, this has been a fascinating journey.
It has.
Eye-opening, thought-provoking, and, dare I say, even a little bit fun.
I agree. It's always a pleasure to dive into these topics and explore the ever-evolving landscape of data.
And to our listeners out there, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to learn more about the fascinating world of data. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep. From big data to databases and even those ERD blueprints, it's amazing how much we've unpacked in this deep dive into your lecture.
It's all about connecting the dots and understanding the intricate ways data shapes our world.
Exactly. And you know what's really striking me? We often talk about data in this abstract sense.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's all about us.
It is.
Our choices, our behaviors, our digital footprints.
Right.
It's both fascinating and a little bit humbling.
It really is. Data gives us this incredible snapshot of human behavior.
Right.
What we buy, where we go, what we're interested in. And as we've discussed, that information can be incredibly powerful when used thoughtfully.
Absolutely. Think about those personalized recommendations or even those hyper-targeted ads we see online.
Right.
For better or for worse, data is driving those experiences. It's like having a team of digital detectives trying to predict our every move.
It is. And like any good detective, they're not always right.
Right.
But the more data they gather, the more accurate their predictions become. That's why understanding the tools and techniques they use, things like data mining and database design, is so important. It allows us to peek behind the curtain and see how those systems work.
It's like becoming data detectives ourselves.
Exactly. And the more we understand about data, the better equipped we are to navigate this increasingly complex digital landscape. We become more discerning consumers of information, more aware of how our own data is being used, and ultimately more empowered to make informed decisions.
So this deep dive hasn't just been about understanding technical concepts.
It hasn't.
It's been about understanding ourselves and our place in this data-driven world.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, this has been a fascinating journey.
It has been.
Eye-opening, thought-provoking, and, dare I say, even a little bit fun.
I agree. It's always a pleasure to dive into these topics and explore the ever-evolving landscape of data.
And to our listeners out there, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to learn more about the fascinating world of data. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.